Hello and welcome back, all of you Focus Otters. My name is Michael Liendo, and today I want to go ahead and share with you on this channel the fact that I have been employed as a senior developer advocate for AWS for the past 6 weeks. Now, if you follow me on social media, which you should, you already know that I've been doing this and posting content out on Twitter, LinkedIn, and a couple other platforms. But I wanted to take this time to go ahead and give you some insight on what is a DA, what do I do, and maybe a little bit about the interview process. So if that sounds good to you, let's go and get started. Okay, so let's dial it back a little bit and let's talk about what it was like through the interview process of a DA. Now, what I'll share is that from the time I filled out the initial submission for the resume to the time that I got hired was about 2 months long. So if you're applying for a position, what I hear from the grapevine is that that isn't all that uncommon. So take that into consideration when you're planning your finances in whatever position you are in your job search. Now, from there, I went ahead and I got on a call with a recruiter who reached out to me via phone. And it was just like, hey, let's go ahead and chat to make sure that you pass the initial screening that they're going to go ahead and do on their end. Now, what I will share is that across the board, Amazon's recruiters, in my experience, are fantastic. They really don't hide anything. They're not there to be sort of lurky, which has been my experience with other companies. The recruiter that I was with, Adam, they went ahead and shared a lot of insight into the company culture, what I'd be doing. They were not technical, but they knew enough of the landscape so that we can have honest and open conversations. Now, after that process, I went ahead and hopped on the phone with a project manager who is currently my project manager, and one of them. And from there, I went ahead and got more technical into some of the items. Certain questions were just like, hey, can you explain at a fundamental level, what is React? Can you explain deeper than the fundamentals? Can you talk about what methods might be used internally to compare state? Things like that. But then obviously, because this is AWS, we went ahead and talked about cloud-based options and products and services as well. So things in that aspect were like, can you explain the difference between SQL and NoSQL? Or can you explain, what's going on behind the scenes with Lambda and basic cloud computing principles that sort of every DA would know or would need to know if they're coming into this field. Now, the great thing about that is, again, the process with Amazon. Now, there's this whole, let me back up because there's this whole misconception that Amazon is a very computer science focused, traditional sense of interviewing. But it's actually not the case. It's not just because I was working with, I'm applying for the DA role, but a little insight is that a year ago, I applied for a solutions architect role, and my experience actually mirrored a lot of what I was going through this time. And that is to say that there aren't any hardcore whiteboarding interview questions. If you're familiar with Amazon, they really focus on these leadership principles. And with them, they use those as guardrails to sort of assess you with practical questions that you can go ahead and look up online and get a lot of insight into them. But they use those as opposed to whiteboarding style interview questions that you might find at other FANG companies. Now, back to the interview with the PM. It went super great. We had a good time. It was an open discussion, so I was able to ask them questions, and they were able to ask me questions as well. From there, I went over to, I think there was actually another interview process. I'm just drawing a blank on what that experience was like, but it was, you're slowly like getting down from like top 200 to the top 100, and then you're in the final 10. So from there, I'm getting a sense that I'm doing pretty great. So because of COVID and everything else going on, this is all taking place virtually. And over the course of these 2 months, one of the last steps was that I got set up with a day-long interview process. Now, because I'm a DA, or at least at the time I was applying to be a DA, I wanted to showcase what I could do, and they do that in the form of a presentation. So I had 1 hour. I could choose the topic on anything that I wanted to, And from there, I just had to present it to some folks on the team, and they would assess my presentation skills, technical savviness, and things of that nature. Now, me being me, because I could pick anything that I wanted to be kind of ballsy, and I picked Amplify, which is the team that I applied to. So I picked their own product, and I was teaching it to them at a technical, fundamental level. So that was a risk on my part, and it paid off. I got, as far as I know, I got good marks on it, and they ended up taking me through the rest of the day, which is more interview style questions. You're meeting with people in your department, outside of your department, and everyone is really just trying to assess your character, your personality, get a sense of what accountability you might have as you work inside of an organization, and then also um, just really just your persona in general. You know, who is this person that we're bringing onto our team? And I really appreciate that because you don't get that insight when you strictly have those leak code style interviews. So long story short, I got the job. Now, if you want to hear more about the negotiating process and maybe even a little bit about what numbers are getting thrown out when you work for Fang, go ahead and comment down below, subscribe, and I can definitely make a video showing you my negotiating tips and some of the numbers that got into play in terms of base salary, sign-on bonus, stock options. All of those are a factor in my total compensation, and I have no problem throwing out close enough numbers so that you can get an idea of where things ended up landing for me. Okay, so let's shift gears for a little bit and let's talk about what it is that a developer advocate does, and realistically, what is it that I do? Now, I want to go ahead and take a moment to appreciate the fact that the term developer advocacy is broad in our industry, the tech industry. It kind of got mixed in with evangelism, um, advocacy, and then sort of had a different marketing spin. I want to go ahead and just put it out there that AWS does things really great in the sense of DA work, where I don't work underneath the marketing team. I actually work alongside the product team, meaning all of the engineers, project managers, and software development managers. I work alongside them as opposed to someone strictly under marketing. The impact that has is defined in the role itself, developer advocacy. The best way to think about it is AWS is sponsoring me to be your advocate, right? Your developer advocate. So they have a product, Amplify, and it's part of the mobile stack that they work with, front end, web, and mobile. And with that, I can serve that entire category of community individuals by using their product, putting it out into the community, and saying, hey, what do you like about this? What don't you like about this? And then the best part is that I can take that feedback and bring it in internally so that we can make those changes. Now, notice that I said AWS is sponsoring me to do this. Now that's great. That means that I take their product and I ship it on out to you all. But that doesn't limit me to only talking about AWS Amplify. Quick plug is that if you're new to AWS Amplify, I have a bunch of videos on my channel already that you can use to check out and get more familiar with the capabilities that it has. But back to it. AWS lets me put out content with anyone. I can talk about Next.js and how that might compete with some of the features that Amplify has. I can talk about Netlify and how some of those features are the same that we have within Amplify as well. So it's a really great opportunity to showcase to developers everything within our ecosystem and then also expose them to how AWS puts their own flavor on top of it. And then the last topic is going to be, what do I do? Like, what does my day to day look like, or week to week, month to month? Now, keep in mind, again, I've only been with the company for about 6 weeks now. So I'm still learning the ropes, and I'm very much so new to the game. The benefit that I carry is that for those of you that have followed me for a little bit, you know that I've been working with Amplify and AWS services for a while now. So I'm coming in with a bit of knowledge on the stack already. Now, what I wasn't prepared for, and folks that are familiar with AWS can attest to this, is that AWS is a document driven company, meaning I am writing a ton. And you might think, well, duh, Michael, you have to put out blog posts and you have to write up snippets here and there and GitHub gists. It's like, no, 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 no. Like, internal documents. Everything is document driven. One cool thing is that Amazon doesn't really put a whole lot of weight on presentations, and it's just that they are extremely data driven. It's actually one of their leadership principles. So, with that said, I'm used to, as a community member, putting out blog posts and leaving it there. But as I mentioned before, now it goes both ways. Now I put out blog posts that takes in user feedback, aka customer feedback, and I take that and put it internally. So I'll write up another document after my blog post, write up a document on how folks were reacting to it. I'll also talk about some of the improvements that individuals like yourselves suggest, and I'll bring that to the product team. One of the benefits of working so closely with them is that I can just Slack them or I can attend one of their meetings and we'll just raise it there. Now, this all comes in the form, though, at least initiated by a document. So it is super weird for me. Peculiar is the word that AWS will say at first, but then you really appreciate just how well it lets you organize your thoughts, put them out there, and then you can bring it up in your meeting, and everybody takes the first 10 minutes to review that document. It's really interesting, and I've grown to love it. And then, yes, to add on to that, there is the awesome aspect of it, which is I get to travel across the world. I get to attend conferences virtually and in person, fingers crossed, whenever that opens up again, and just have a great time being the advocate for the community. Now, I'm in a really fortunate position because I'm a self-taught developer, right? I didn't go to school for this. I don't think you can go to school for developer advocacy, but at the same time, I relied heavily on my network. A lot of you folks watching this video are probably aware of awesome individuals like Ali Spittle, Kyle Lee, Nader Dabbit, Swix, Sean Wang. Great individuals. They definitely helped get me to where I am today. And again, it's an understatement to say that I wouldn't be here without their support. I definitely put in my fair share of the work, but it's having a great network alongside of you. It goes so far, and I definitely encourage you to leverage your social media accounts, your community posts, and engage with active members of the community like them, so that way they can help you along your way as well. And I'll also help you there too. Well, that's all I got today. Again, let me know in the comments if there's any aspect of this that you wanted to know in particular, and I can definitely make another video. Next up is that I'm looking forward to creating a follow-up on my 3-month update. But in the meantime, you'll probably see a couple videos post just showing off the awesome features that AWS Amplify has and giving you great updates along the journey. Thanks for stopping by. Love to see all the focus otters out there, and I'll check you all next time. Peace.